59, April 1993, pages 30 and following, and I'm taking a quote from that particular article. Basically what they're saying is the fluoride supplements, which are supposed to provide the same amount of fluoride as found in fluoridated water. Fluoride supplements, and I'm quoting now, should not be recommended for children less than 3 years old. Well, and this is, again, the Journal of the Canadian Dental Association, volume 59, page 330 and following. And the statement I took off was on page 334. Basically, they're saying that children up to the age of 3 shouldn't be drinking fluoridated water at all, under any circumstances. We talked about problems with bones in the various journals. The Journal of the American Medical Association of July 25th, 1990, volume 264, starting on page 500, showed an increase in hip fractures with fluoride. And then another study from the Journal of the American Medical Association, July 24th to 31st, 1991, volume 226, page 513, again found in Britain the same type of a link between fluoride and hip fractures. Another study in the Journal of the American Medical Association, August 12th, 1992, page 746 and following, said we found a small but significant increase in the risk of hip fractures in both men and women exposed to artificial fluoridation at 1 part per million. That's a quote from them. How more clear can you get than that? The New England Journal of Medicine. Their article appeared in the volume 322, pages 802 to 809. Again, the number of new vertebral fractures was similar in the treatment and placebo groups. However, the number of non-vertebral fractures, including hip fractures, was significantly higher in the treatment group. This is a treatment group that they were treating with fluoride to cure their osteoporosis, which was actually causing problems, worse problems. An article by the Procter & Gamble study, published in Mutation Research, volume 223, 191 to 203, which shows in their graph number 6, or table number 6, that half the amount of fluoride used to fluoridate public water supplies actually causes genetic damage. From the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, published in Environmental and Molecular Mutagenesis, volume 21, pages 309 to 318, they talk about the genetic toxicity of fluoride, and the statement they make is good enough to read over the radio. And I'm quoting from their article. This is from the U.S. Public Health Service now. In cultured human and rodent cells, the weight of evidence leads to the conclusion that fluoride exposure results in increased chromosome aberrations. A study follow-up on that, and the pertinence of this is not only birth defects, but also things that cause genetic damage tend to transform normal cells into cancer cells. In the journal Carcinogenesis, volume 9, pages 2279 to 2284, they confirmed that fluoride not only had the ability to transform normal cells into cancer cells, but also to enhance the cancer-causing properties of other chemicals. I can go on and on. The Public Health Service put out another report called Review of Fluoride, Benefits and Risks, where they showed that there was a substantially higher increase in a substantially higher incidence in bone cancer among young men exposed to fluoridated water as those that did not. The the New Jersey Department of Health also did a study and found that the risk for young men getting bone cancer was about 3 times as high in fluoridated areas as non-fluoridated areas. And we did a study confirming the same thing at the Safe Water Foundation. Those other 2 reports were actually reports put out by the New Jersey Department of Health, which you can get from them, and the U.S. Public Health Service. The U.S. Public Health Service study was called Review of Fluoride Benefits and Risks. Community dental health studies. This was a study by Dr. Cohun, where he looked at 60,000 school children. Again, found no difference in tooth decay and as related to fluoride. Whether the area is fluoridated or not, there was no difference in tooth decay. That was published in Community Health Studies, volume 11, pages 85 and following. That is a published study in 1987, and subsequent studies have been done confirming the same thing. And finally, the Canadian Dental Association Journal again, which showed that in Canada, exactly the same types of findings, that they could find there was no difference in, actually, if anything, there was a lower tooth decay rates in the most non-fluoridated province, and that's in the Canadian Dental Association Journal, October 1987, pages 763 and following. And then finally, from a publication entitled Health Effects of Ingested Fluoride, this is put out by the National Academy of Sciences, and I'll quote this again, in 1993. I'll quote it. Dental fluorosis reported in optimally fluoridated water, that means 1 part per million, both natural and added, in recent years range from 8 to 51%. More recently, a prevalence of 80.9% was reported in children 12 to 14 years old in Augusta, Georgia. Those are just a tip of the iceberg. I have a book called Fluoride, the Aging Factor, which lists about 500 references, these and others included, showing the harmful effects of fluoride, showing the studies that have been done for years. There is no question with regard to fluoridation of public water supplies. It is absolutely unsafe. It has no socially or health-redeeming qualities and should be stopped immediately. This is causing more destruction to human health than any other single substance added purposely or inadvertently to the water supply. We're talking about 35,000 excess deaths a year due to this. We're talking about 10,000 cancer deaths a year due to this. We're talking about over 130 million people who are being chronically poisoned by fluoride. And when I say chronically poisoned, I mean we're not talking about dropping dead on drinking a glass of fluoridated water. We're talking about like with cigarette smoking. As with cigarettes, cigarette after cigarette, it takes its toll in human life, glass after glass of water. It takes its toll in human health and life.
I want you to hold your thoughts because we're going to come back and now in the second half of our program get into the politics. Why this was allowed. Why New York City still has, New York City has a lot of things go wrong with it, so we'll use some other more reasonable, less corrupt city. But we'll talk about the corruption that allows this to go on. Also, I'm particularly interested in asking you about Consumers Report being pro-fluoride when there's supposed to be hard, objective science being used. Was this the case in their review of fluoride? I'm Gary Null. We're going to be joined in a moment by another advocate, a person who personally suffered because of his input on fluoride, and this was the top person at the EPA in this whole division. He was a concerned scientist, Dr. Bill Marcus, Senior Science Advisor, the Office of Drinking Water at the EPA. And you got to ask, if the top scientists who have no political or economic agenda, and if they find that something's wrong, and they try to warn the public, and they're fired, harassed, or in some way told to shut up, what does that tell us about the honesty and concern for our our well-being that these governmental agencies supposedly maintained? We'll find all that out in a moment. If you'd like a copy of today's program, you can call 212-799-1246. 212-799-1246. Ask for program number 310. Hi everyone, I'm Gary Naud. I'd like to welcome you to our program. Today we're talking about the issues of fluoridation. We have a group of panelists. Dr. John Yamianis is one of our guests today. Also, Dr. John Lee and Dr. Bill Marcus. We're going to come to each of these gentlemen in order for them to tell you about their concerns. The first part of the program dealt with the scientific concerns. As you heard from Dr. Yamianis, there are over 500 studies cited from peer-reviewed journals showing the dangers of fluoride. Let me summarize. That fluoride has never been shown to prevent tooth decay, should not be used in mouth rinses, toothpaste, should never be given to children because there's never been a study showing that it is a necessary nutrient, yet pediatricians frequently give fluoride supplements to children. We consider that a travesty, that claims made have been overstated, then that they have not done proper toxicity studies long ago. Now that they have been done, universally they've been shown to be toxic. And yet, in spite of the fact that the public that does become aware of the issues does not want their water fluoridated, there is still enormous pressure to fluoridate. I'm going to ask Dr. Yamianis, who's on our line now, to explain his perspective on this. I just want to put him on hold to welcome Dr. Marcus to our program. We'll be right back to Dr. Yamianis. Dr. Marcus, I'd like to welcome you to our program. Dr. Bill Marcus.
Yes.
Hi. We're talking with Dr. John Yamianis, and we're going to be right over to you, so just hang on there, line there, all right?
Yes, sir.
And you won't hear anything, but don't hang up. We'll be right with you. Dr. Yamianis, tell us about the politics behind this, including in New York. New York City's